Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new broadcasting. We continue with our description of the society of the future. We shall be addressing a topic that today plays a great, perhaps a too great role in our lives: economy and labor. Formerly it were the church towers. Today it is the office towers that shape the image of our cities. The economy is the most powerful force of our time. Our life is almost completely determined by our professional work, to which we devote the vast majority of the time and energy that is available to us. When we meet a fellow man, the most important question is about his job. Most of us define our identity by our profession. I am, you are, a lawyer, a baker, a doctor, etc. Our economy has completely lost sight of its real aim: the provision of mankind with the necessities of life and the work for progress, for the improvement of the living conditions. It has fallen under the spell of money-making. It is characterized by speculation and striving for personal profit. Mammon is the god it worships. The economy is devoting itself to the cult of our time, the satisfaction of the desires of the lower self. It no longer serves the common good, but only personal ambition, the striving of the individual for wealth, power, and pleasure. The economy produces a tremendous amount of goods that are not really needed at all. It is necessary to advertise them at great costs in order to create a demand for them, which otherwise would not even exist. The production of worthless objects is an offense against the people. We condemn wastefulness. Capitalism irresponsibly plunders the treasures of nature. Political economy should be based upon an understanding of the values of nature and their wise use. Otherwise, the state will rest on sand. One must persuade people to conserve their own treasures. The most miserable person on earth is often a planetary plunderer. The new world, if and when it arrives, will manifest love for the treasures of nature. It is right to turn one's thought to the task of cooperation with nature. It is right to recognize that to plunder nature is to squander the treasures of the people. Everything, even help for the neighbor, is turned into a business which must yield profit. Life has been turned into a business, but who of the teachers of life has ever been a businessman? The money makers and speculators must disappear from the face of the earth. I show the path of battle against the profiteers of this world. You know the great symbol of driving the money changers out of the temple, but is not earth itself a temple? This task, so vehemently pointed out by Jesus, remains unfulfilled up to today. The expulsion of the merchants from the temple is a symbolic warning, but the temple should also be in the spirit. This means that profit-making must be expelled from the spirit. No one can forbid the exchange of daily necessities, but merchants must attend to their business in the light of the fire of their heart. Thus, all the basic foundations of life can be enlightened by the light of good. The spiritual foundation of the current market economy is the thesis that the striving of the individual for profit ultimately serves the common good. This theory is outdated. It is already doubtful whether it applies in the pure material sense. In the spiritual sense, at least, it is devastating when a whole society is guided by the principle of the greatest possible egotism. The unspiritual economic order leads to a commercialization of the whole human life, which makes our existence nearly unbearable. The spirit of profit-making and overreaching poisons human relationships. Doctors' practices, law firms, hospitals, retirement homes, shops, banks, insurances, and government offices turn into places of horror. There, you are looking for food, clothing, justice, or cure. But what do you find? The cold-hearted exploitation of your needs. We need to create a new order of economy and labor that is characterized by the following 5 principles. Service to the common good instead of profit-making. Collaboration instead of merciless competition. Simplicity in the sense of restriction to the necessities of life. Subsidiarity of consumption and work for money. Priority of self-production. Production methods according to ethical standards. Let us now look briefly at each of these 5 points. First principle: economic undertakings must serve the common good. In the second place only, they are to enable the entrepreneur and his employees to make a modest living. The desire to serve will dominate the desire to acquire. Second principle: the old attitude of competition must disappear. We have to work together in order to improve the world, instead of outmaneuvering or even destroying one another. Together we can achieve much more than when we fight each other. Where the consciousness is wild and unrestricted, there competition leads to mutual destruction. Envy nests around competition. It leads to the most subtle crimes. Cooperation must bring balance to misunderstood competition. Therefore, it is best, wherever possible, to replace the concept of competition with that of self-perfection. Third point. Our life must become simpler and more goal-fitted. In order to lead a fulfilled life, we do not really need most of all that what the economy imposes on us. On the contrary, the time and energy we have to spend in order to acquire, house, maintain, care for, and defend all these more and more complicated things distracts us from the essential, the growth of our soul. Only goal-fitting simplification can bring dignity to life and safeguard the natural resources. Fourth principle. The community of the future will produce itself as much as possible of what it needs, or procure it by way of exchange with spiritual friends. This is much more creative than to consume what others have produced. In addition, only thus can we stay in control of the production process of the goods we use. The best turnover of goods is by direct exchange of products, or, in the extreme case, they can be allowed to be exchanged into money, to be reconverted immediately. Overreaching will be replaced by a natural exchange. The cooperative is not a business, but a cultural institution. There may be also trade within it, but its basis must be one of enlightenment. Only along such lines is it possible to apply cooperation to the new life. Such unity is not easy. People have been accustomed to combining commerce with greed. Such an error is difficult to eradicate, but undeferably, by way of school education, should the significance of healthy exchange be explained. In such an economy, there's not much left that has to be bought. In order to procure these few things, the new man will not be required to spend too much of the day working for money. Half-day work will generally suffice. The acquisition of material goods will only be a side issue in his spiritual life, but no longer the meaning of life. Soon the machine will enable people to be at leisure a considerable portion of the day. One must ask oneself for what this free time is to be used. We can change our lives to the effect that the essential work is done selflessly. That means without pay. Fifth and last point. Where we are working for money, we will make sure that only meaningful, necessary, and ethically acceptable goods are being produced. If this thinking becomes widespread, it will have a major impact on the economy as a whole. Fewer products will be produced because the new immortal man no longer needs the abundance offered today. Higher quality, simpler, and above all more durable goods will be in demand. And every business enterprise that is looking for employees or for customers will have to prove that it meets ethical standards regarding its use of resources, its production methods, its treatment of employees, including their salary, and the price it demands. At the horizon emerges the vision of an economy without money. In the period of the abolition of money, it is urgent to replace its power by the realization of the Spirit's power to help. People remembered the legend about gold as the source of evil, but they hastened to transform it into a fairy tale. Each great teacher revolted against gold. Now comes a most decisive point. What do we need money for? In order to allow the individual to evaluate his contribution to the wealth of a community, gross national product, with a higher price than the contributions of others. From this, he derives the right to claim for himself a greater share of the wealth which all of us have created together. This is an unspiritual concept which is incompatible with the principle of selflessness. To serve one's selfishness is forbidden. To exercise prerogatives is forbidden. In a community of high selfless spirits, everyone will claim only those goods which he absolutely needs. The competition among them will be about how to claim as little as possible. The distribution of the basic material goods will result from an understanding of the highest truth. The decisive point is, spiritual brothers can dispense with evaluating the services that are contributed to and those that are claimed from the community. In a true community, the question does not arise whether the performance of a doctor or that of a baker is to be valued higher. The one makes medical treatment, the other makes bread available free of charge, because both receive what they themselves need also for free. In the Brotherhood, each one works as much as he can. Each one helps in accordance with the measure of his forces. Each one lets no time escape, for it is irrecoverable. Each one is ready to lend his strength to a brother. Each one displays his best quality. Each one rejoices at the success of a brother. Are these principles too difficult? Are they supernatural Are they beyond human strength? You see, people have to change in order to make the world a better place. Only with the new immortal man can the vision of a world without money become a reality. The flourishing of a community presupposes that each individual member is striving to contribute more to than to consume from the Commonwealth.